So good afternoon to all of you. Today we'll discuss about some partial differential equation. This linear partial differential equation, some standard linear partial differential equation. And in previous class we have already discussed about homogeneous, non-homogeneous linear partial differential equation, method for solving linear, homogeneous and non-homogeneous linear partial differential equation of order 2. Okay, and here we give some standard partial differential equation, which is known as wave equation, heat equation, etc. Okay, these are some standard equation. Okay, and thus remember the equation which is known as, suppose, wave equation. This one is the wave equation, del 2y del t square equals to c square del 2y del x square, where x and t, these are what, these are independent variable, y is dependent variable, and c is any constant, and the equation is of the form is known as wave equation. It is two-dimensional wave equation. Okay, just remember the equation. And next one is the heat equation. Heat equation is what? This one is a one-dimensional heat equation. This one is a del u del t equals to c square del 2u del x square. Here also x and t are independent variable and y is dependent variable. And similarly, this one, third one, is the two-dimensional heat equation, del 2y del x square plus del 2y del y square equals to 0. Just remember the equation. Now, let us see a method which is known as separation of variable. Okay, separation of variables is what? It is used to solve ordinary differential equation and partial differential equation. Okay, by separating the variable we can solve ordinary differential equation and partial differential equation. Okay, and in the linear partial differential equation we used a separation of variable to solve like a, suppose, wave equation, one-dimensional heat equation, two-dimensional heat equation, especially wave equation and heat equation. And this type of equation can be solved with the help of separation of variable. Okay, so let me tell about the method of separation of variable. Okay, and in this method we assume that the dependent variable is the product of two functions. Two functions means what? Two functions which in which involves only one of the independent variable. Okay, suppose here also see that u is what? U is the dependent variable, and t and x are what? Independent variable. And in this method, what we do, we can show that, first we can show that the dependent variable is the product of two functions. Two functions means what? These two functions is one of the independent variable. Okay, suppose here, suppose this one u is what? U can be write as, suppose, x and t, product of two functions, x and t, suppose capital T, capital X and capital T. Here capital X is what? Capital X must be a function of small x, because small x is the dependent variable for this equation. And similarly, small t is the independent variable for this equation. So you can be write as u equals to what? Capital X of x. That is, capital X is what? The function of x into t of t, where capital T is what? The function of small t. So because of when we use separation of variable, in the first step you have to write the dependent variable is what? Is the product of two independent, product of two functions. That means these two functions involve so only one of the independent. Okay, so after that we get to ordinary differential equation of the form, and after solving this ordinary differential equation we can get the required solution. Okay, let me discuss with an example. Okay, see this example. Okay, are you guess what is the method of separation of variable? Are you understand? Hello? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you understand the method?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Method is nothing else. It is used to solve separation of variable. Separation of variable. That means it means what? We have to separate the variable because it is used to solve linear partial differential equation. Like as linear partial differential equation, that is some wave equation, one-dimensional heat equation, two-dimensional heat equation, and so on. Okay, heat equation and wave equation can be solved with the help of separation of variable. So in this method, what we do, just remember this one. We just write. First, you have to choose what is the dependent and independent variable. And in the first step, you have to write the dependent variable is the product of two functions. That two functions is what? That two functions involves only one independent. Only one independent. Okay, just remember this. So, see the problem here. Example number one. This gives us the equation is del u del x equals to twice del u del t plus u. Okay, is it a linear equation? Can you tell me? Is it a linear partial differential equation? See this one. Del u del x equals to twice del u del t plus y. Is it linear? Is it linear or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me the reason why it is linear? Your answer is correct. It is linear. But can you tell me why it is linear? See the equation. And here derivative is what? Here degree. Can you tell me the degree of this equation?
Degree is 1, ma'am.
Yeah, degree is 1. So it is linear. Reason is this one. Here just see the equation and find out the degree. What is the degree of this equation? If it is 1, then you can say that it is linear. Okay? Because this equation degree is 1, so it is linear. Okay, now we use the separation of variable to solve this equation. Okay, and here there is a condition is given like as u of x0. X is what? X is the independent variable and t is considered as 0 and value of this one is what? 6 e to the power minus 9. Okay, now can you tell me the independent variable of this equation? Independent variable of this equation is what?
U.
U is dependent or independent?
Independent.
No, U is dependent. U is depends on y, x and t. See that del u del x, del u del
T.
t. Is not it?
Yes, ma'am.
Del u del x. That means u depends on x. Similarly, see the right hand side here. The term is what del u del t. That is u also depend on t. So u is what dependent variable. Okay. And independent variable is what here? For this equation, independent variable is what? Can you tell me the independent variable?
T.
What? Yeah, Indramani.
T. 2, ma'am.
independent variable. 2 is what? 2 is
Del
the coefficient.
U.
I already said that U is dependent variable.
Ma'am, T.
Not
Ma'am,
only,
del X, ma'am. Del
not only T, X and T.
E. Oh, okay.
See this one, see the equation. Del means what? Del is the partial differentiation. Del indicates the partial differentiation. But I am asking about variable. Del X is not a variable. Del is what? Del is the operation. This one is partial differentiation. Del is an operation. But I am asking about variable. Here variable is what? X, T and U. These are variable. Okay, U, X, comma T. Here there are three variables which are X, T and U. Now you have to choose which are dependent or independent. Now see the equation. U. U depends on what? X. Del U, del X. Similarly, del U, del T. So U depends on what? X and T. Is not it?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
U depends on X and T. So U depends on X and T means what? U is obviously dependent, is not it?
Yes,
U
ma'am.
depends on some variable. That is what? That gives U is obviously dependent, is not it?
Yes.
And see that U depends on what? U depends on X and T. X and T. So X and T are what? X and T are dependent or independent?
Ma'am, dependent.
What?
Dependent, ma'am.
No, it is not dependent. It is independent.
Yes,
U
ma'am.
is depend. U depends on
U.
X. U depends on
Exactly.
X. That means what? X is obviously independent. Similarly, U depends on T. That means what? T is obviously independent. Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But when we discuss at the very beginning, I am asking about while I am asking about partial differential equation of suppose order one, then we write equation of the form is like as x comma y comma z comma p comma q equals to some zero equals to 0. Okay, this was the equation. There in that class I have told you that x and y are what? Independent. And z is what? Dependent. Okay, here see that. In that case also we write p equals to what? Del z by del x. That is del is what? Del is dependent. Similarly, q is what? Del z by del y. So from that notation we can directly say that x and y are what? Independent. And z is dependent. Z depends on x and y. Here also u depends on x and t. Okay, so ultimately what we get? If u depends on x and t, that means that is what? That is x and t are independent. Okay, x and t are independent and y is dependent. Okay, is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Now, according to this method, separation of variable, first you have to choose the dependent variable. Okay. After that, the dependent variable have to write as the product of two functions, such that one product of two function in which involves only one independent. Okay, so for this equation, we see that here dependent variable is what? U. Okay, so according to the method, we can write U equals to what? Product of some functions which involves only one independent variable. So we consider u equals to capital X into small x into capital T into small t, because according to the method u is what? U is the product of two functions. Here x and t, capital X and capital T are what? Two functions which involves one independent variable. Independent variable means what? This one is x, this one is t. Okay? Is it clear?
Okay, ma'am.
So, in this method, when we use separation of variable, first you have to check which one is the independent and dependent variable. Okay? First, your first step is what? You have to choose which one is independent or dependent. After that, independent variable can have to write as the product of two functions which involves only one independent. Okay? I think it is clear now. So go to the next step. Here see that where x is a function of small x, because you have to write x which involves only one independent variable. So x is a function of small x and t is a function of small t. And now putting the value of u in the original equation. Just put the value of u in the original equation. Then what we get? Del x. Okay, and u is what? X into t. And similarly, see the right hand side, it's equals to 2 into del t into, in the place of u, you have to write x into t plus u. U means what? X into t. Okay? And see the next step. And see that del x into t divided by del x. So it is what? It is the ordinary differential equation. Del x, del capital X, del x. Because x is the function of small x. So del capital X divided by del x is what? This is dx by dx. D capital X by dx, and t comes outside, t into del x by del x. And similarly, see the right hand side, so it is what? Del t. So capital X comes outside, so it gives us 2 into capital X into dt by d, d capital T by d, and other term is what? X into t. Okay, and see that dx, the dx of capital X, this is what? This is nothing else, x dash, dx dash equals to see this one is what? Twice x t dash plus x into t. Okay, and now you have to separate x and t. X and t, you have to separate x and t. Here, this one, this t, there is a mistake. T is not comes in this place. There is a small mistake. So remove this t. Don't write t. And in the next step, you have to separate x and t. When we separate x and t, then it is gives us suppose x. See that this one, take common x, because here x and x, these are same, so we can take common x. If we take common x, then term will be what? Twice t dash plus t, twice x bracket of t dash plus t. So the next step, we can separate x and t. Then we get what? X dash divided by x equals to twice t dash divided by t plus 1. Because in this step, we have to separate x and t. Okay, here one step is skipping. I say that just separate this one, and the right hand side, first the common x take common x, then x comes in the outside, and the remaining term will be what? T dash plus t. So in the next step, we can separate x and t. After that, finally we get x dash by x. T is not here. X dash by x equals to twice t dash by t plus 1. And now, let us consider this one equals to c. C is any constant. Okay? This one is c. So, what we get? X dash by x equals to c, and twice c dash c plus 1 equals is also c. Okay? X dash by x equals to c. X dash by x equals to c. So, x dash by x equals to c. Then, x dash is what? Dx by d capital X by dx equals to cx, and this one dx by capital X equals to c dx. Now integrate this one. If we integrate this one, then this gives what? Integration of 1 by x. Integration of 1 by x will be what?
Log x.
Log x. So it comes as log x. And here see that c is any constant. I have already told you that c is constant. So here if we integrate this term, then what we get? C is constant, so c comes outside. Then integration of dx. Integration of dx will be what?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
X.
X. So it is comes as cx. Okay? Is it clear? So after integrating, directly we get log x equals to c small x plus constant is right in the form of log x because it is log x. Okay, so we get log capital X equals to cx plus log a. Okay, so here see that log x into log equals to log of a. So we can combining these two terms, we can write log of x by a equals to c. Okay, then after that we get what? If we remove log from this one, then what we get? X by a equals to e to the power cx. Okay, is it clear? Ultimately, what we get? X equals to a into e to the power cx. Okay? Is there any doubt? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt?
Ma'am.
But ma'am, first line.
Which line? This one.
Yes.
This one. This one. Yeah, this one. Say properly.
Above.
Ma'am,
Yeah, tell me.
how that u x comma 0 equals to 6 e to the power minus 3 x k, ma'am? First one, ma'am.
In the
Yes,
equation
ma'am.
is this one.
Yes, ma'am.
This one is a condition. This one is a condition which are given. This is not the solution part. Okay? This is the condition. This is given in the original equation. This is not the solution part. X0 means what? Here I have already told you that u is what? U is the dependent variable which depends on what? X and t.
X and t.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
So here suppose one variable, if t is 0, suppose we consider this equation, condition. Suppose x0 when t equals to 0, then value is what? It's the value 6 e to the power minus 3. Okay, this is not the solution part. This is the problem, original problem.
Okay, ma'am.
And the next, tell me in which line you are confusing. Are you understand this line? Just you have just put the value of u in the original equation. Here u is what? X into t. Because method says what? Method says that u, the dependent variable, is the product of, is equals to the product of independent variable. Independent is the product of two functions which involves only one independent variable. Is not it? So we can write u equals to x of x into t of t. Because here independent variable is what? X and t. And after that, just put the value of u in the original equation. Okay. Now Partha, tell me in which line you are confusing.
Second line, please. Again.
This line.
Upper, ma'am. Del xt dot divided by del x.
This line.
Yes, ma'am.
See the original equation. Original equation is what? Del u del x. Okay. And u is what? X into t. We write u equals to what? X into t. Is not it?
Yes, ma'am.
U equals to what? X into t. Is not it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, in the place of u, we can write what value?
X and t.
X and t. Thus, we write the value of u in the original equation. So, it comes as del x into t divided by del x. Similarly, the right hand side, see the right hand side, the first term is what? Twice del u by del t. So, it comes as what? Twice del t. U is what? X into t. And this one is what? The u. So, next term is what? X into t. Okay?
Ma'am,
Is
Shuddha
it
value.
clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in the next step, see that here this one is what? X into t. Two functions. Okay? X is another function. T is also another function. Okay? X and t are two different functions. Is not it? X and t are two different functions. Is not it?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what we do in the next step, you have to separate these two functions, x and t. Okay? So, in the next step, we write this one. X dash by x equals to twice. Finally, we get this one. Now, see that here x is with what? With x. Here t is not there. Don't confuse between it. T is not here. Thus, this one is x dash by x equals to twice t dash by t. Now, see that is there any term in the form of x into t? See this one. Is there any term in the form of x into t? Don't confuse with
No,
this thing. Is there any
no,
term in the suppose x into t?
no, ma'am.
Yeah, there is no term because this is the method. Separation of variable means what? You have to separate the variable. Okay, but in this step, see this one. There are terms which are in the form x into t. Is not it? But in the next step, we have to separate all of them. Okay? Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And see that, so x is what? A e to the power cx. Ultimately, we get x equals to a e to the power cx. Okay? Similarly, see this one. This one. Twice c dash c plus 1 is also c. Isn't it? So, we can write twice c dash by t plus 1 equals to c. Okay, so it will be gives us what? T dash by t equals to half of c minus 1. Okay, now here see that t dash is what? T dash means what? dt by dt, d capital T by dt, is not it? And left hand side it is half of c minus 1. Okay, and this gives us what? dt by capital T equals to half of c minus 1 into dt. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt?
No.
Now can we integrate this one? But in this case we cannot integrate because this one is what? D capital T is also there, there is D small t also there. In this step we cannot integrate. We have to separate this one. D capital T is also an another term, dt. This is also an another term. So we cannot directly integrate. So we have to separate this also. Is not it? We have, if you write capital T, you have to write capital T also. Okay, so we separate both of them, and ultimately what we get? Okay, D capital T by T. Now can we integrate this term? Now can we integrate?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me the value. If we integrate this one, dt by t, it will be what?
T.
D capital T by t. That is what? 1 by t into dt.
Yes, ma'am.
Then integration of dt by t is what?
T.
By T. T, ma'am.
Integration of dt by t.
T, ma'am.
Integration of dt by t is what?
Log T.
Yeah,
Ma'am, T only T.
log t. And next see the right hand side. Right hand side is what? Half of c minus 1 into dt. If we integrate this term, then value will be what? Because half of c minus 1, this is what? This is constant. Is not
Constant.
it? Half of c minus 1, this is constant. Okay? So it comes in the outside, then value will be what?
Plus log P, why?
Integration of t dt. So it comes as what? T, small t. After
Yes.
integrating, we get log t equals to half of c minus 1 into small t plus log b. Log b is nothing else, it is constant. Okay? Don't confuse with this term. This is what? This is the constant. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Next, and see that. So finally we get log of t by b equals to half of c minus 1 into t. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Then after that we can get the value of this one. Log of t by b equals to this one. Then ultimately what we get? T by b equals to e to the power half of c minus 1 into t. We use the properties of log because what? Log of suppose a. Log of a equals to suppose b. Then that is what? E to the power b equals to what? A. If log of a equals to b, then what? A equals to what? E to the power b. This is the property. We use this property, then we get what? T by b equals to d. And after that, t is what? b into e to the power half of c minus 1 into t. Okay? Is it clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Finally, what? Finally, we get x and t. X and T is what? X and if we can find X and T, then ultimately we get the value of U, because U is what? U is nothing else. U is the product of X and T. Is not it? U is the product
Yes,
of
ma'am.
X and T. If we can find the value of X and T, then we easily get the value of U. Okay? So U is what? U is the product of X and T, and here X is A e to the power Cx, and T is what? B e to the power half of C minus 1 into C. Okay?
Okay,
So
ma'am.
finally we get U equals to AB e to the power, this one, see that, e to the power Cx into e to the power half of C minus 1 into T, and so it is what? E to the power Cx plus half of C minus 1 into T. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
And we are given that U of x0. X0 means what? T is, here T is 0. Okay. We are given x0, U of x0 equals to AB.
Got it.
X0 means what? T is 0. So AB into e to the power Cx. Because T will be what? T will be 0. If T is 0, ultimately this term will be what?
0.
0. So we get AB into e to the power Cx.
CX.
And we are given that U x0 is what? 6 e to the power minus thrice x. This is already given in the problem. And we find that U of x0 is what? AB e to the power Cx. Okay? And so we find AB is what? AB is 6 and C is minus 3.
Minus 3.
Okay. So ultimately we get this one. This is the required solution.
Solution.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you send that PDF, ma'am?
Okay, I will send the PDF. In the group, I will send the PDF. So for today, here I think all of you understand this method.
Yes, ma'am. It is quite simple.
It is
Okay.
simple but lengthy.
It is simple but lengthy.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to know the process. Otherwise, you cannot solve. First, you have to know the method. Okay, according to
Ma'am, this type of question carry how much of number, ma'am?
this time, actually this type of question carries suppose 6 marks. Okay,
6 marks.
in your original, in your first, suppose in the last year I have given this type of question also, because long type question is also there. Okay, but your syllabus contains this topic also, separation of variables. So I have told you, I have discussed with you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, after finishing the course, please send us some previous year's final question. Like,
Okay, I will try. Some sample question will be discussed with you after finishing the course. Okay. At first, you have to try to solve the problems which I given as homework. Okay.
okay,
Then
ma'am.
your doubt will be clear. If you are not trying to solve any problem, you cannot understand the concept properly. So try to solve the problems which are given as your homework. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So for today I stop. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.